Welcome to Borderline Furniture. I'm Mara, and this is Project 56 for the Twice as Nice Challenge, which is hosted by Krystal at the Krafty Creech and Lavonne at Statement Designs. What if an old radio could do more than just play music? In this challenge, I'm transforming a vintage radio into something completely unexpected, restoring the electronics while creating hidden storage. Stick around because this reveal might just surprise you. I've worked on several of these old radios before, and removing the outdated electronics is pretty standard. You just have to find all the hidden hardware and carefully pull out the components. Or not. For this one, I sandblasted the interior and sanded down the failing exterior finish. I actually started this project back in April of 2023, and I'm now returning to it with a clear vision. The veneer on the top had to go, and it came off much easier than I thought it would. The base of this cabinet was salvaged from a 1990s entertainment center that we had. Repurposing it gave me extra storage space at the bottom, which was a win. This is always fun when something old finds a new life in a project like this. For the veneer repairs, I used PC Woody. It's a 2-part wood filler epoxy. It dries harder than Bondo, and it doesn't have that awful smell, but it does take longer to cure. And like all 2-part epoxies, make sure you mix thoroughly. This works perfectly for fixing all of these chipped veneer spots. Inside, I sprayed primer, and on the outside, I tried shellac, which caused problems later, as you'll see, but I wanted to get this step done while the cabinet was wide open. Now for the door. Originally, the record player was mounted to it and pulling out when it opened. My plan was to rework the hinges so it opened side to side, and while that sounds simple, it really wasn't. And after a lot of adjustments and frustrations I'd rather forget, I finally got the door aligned evenly. This was my biggest hurdle, and it works. Next, I needed to drill holes for the radio support hardware, but my drill was too big. Thankfully, my husband just picked up this drill adapter on sale at the hardware store just 3 days ago, and it worked perfectly. Sometimes the right tool shows up just when you need it.
It worked.
Since I'm planning to add an adjustable shelf inside the cabinet, I'm creating divots for my drill bit so that it won't travel. There's not too much space inside here, so I'm drilling enough holes to create 3 levels of adjustment for the shelf. I'll be inserting shelf pins in these holes to support the shelf. For the back panel, I salvaged a piece from another project. It was almost the perfect size, just needed a couple inches trimmed off. I picked up this router table from Facebook Marketplace just for this step. It wasn't the best, but it did get the job done. And right after, a friend offered me their old Rockler router tabletop. And of course I said yes. And you'll see this setup in future videos. For this trim, I used air-dry clay molds. I chilled them in the freezer for 20 minutes so they'd release easily. I've always avoided using clay for molds because they stick to the mold, and when you try to get them out, they distort, but freezing them, that's the trick. Clay molds will shrink as they dry, so make sure that you plan for that. The wood appliques came from Amazon. I got 4 of these for $16. What a great deal. I created this custom color using paints that I already had on hand. Sometimes the best shades are the ones you invent yourself. And while I normally prime before painting, this time I used shellac on the exterior just in case anyone ever wanted to strip it back to wood. That was a big mistake, and I had bleed through everywhere, so I had to prime and repaint. While distressing this piece, Miss Oakley stopped by for a little love. I originally planned to seal this with polyacrylic, but since the weather turned cold, I sealed it with some wax. I used Cornwallis color corrector powder to create a dark wax that added depth to the appliques. For highlights, I added silver powder to clear wax and brush it onto the trim. And then I used Dixie Belle gold gilding wax on the top design, which I created from a clay mold. Finally, I finished it off with half pearls around the front and the top of the cabinet. And if you were wondering, I used E6000 to glue the half pearls to the cabinet. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Will the new receiver fit? Yes, and I secured it with brackets so it's ready to go. There's just not a lot of room to move around inside this cabinet, so I inserted the shelf and then I inserted the pins. I love this adjustable shelf and I think it's going to really multiply the uses that this cabinet will have. Once I run the cord through the hole in the back of this cabinet, I can secure the back panel with screws. The screws will make it easy to attach or remove speakers from the receiver whenever needed. Installing the hardware is always my favorite part because that means that this project is officially complete. From outdated radio to functional storage and modern electronics, this transformation proves that no piece is too far gone. And now let's take a look at the completed project. A huge thanks to Krystal and Lavonne for another amazing, unique antique challenge. Be sure to check out the playlist to see how other creators interpreted this theme. You won't be disappointed. Your likes and comments mean the world to me, and don't forget to subscribe to support my work. And as always, thanks for watching!